It's probably time for Peter. God damn it. Okay.
You wonderful healers, you. Did you hear the government is now labeling the COVID vaccine as a biological weapon?
They aren't. This is a funny thing he does in doublespeak. Let me go over this
Welcome
and
back.
see what he does, because Peter does this, and I'm not sure if he does this intentionally to himself or he's just scamming. Either way, let's hear it.
You wonderful healers, you. Did you hear the government is now labeling the COVID vaccine
The government.
as a biological weapon?
And then the article he's referencing here is COVID-19 vaccine is blah, 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 according to county GOP official. So the government in this case is one local Florida GOP county official. And he's using that to say, did you know the government is saying this? So dishonest. Peter sucks.
Does that mean they're admitting to
No, you idiot! It's another crazy person!
what they did? I want to go over the plan where they're going to depopulate the world. All this
Population control is a motive on the bingo card.
and the first political health report. Oh, I better learn how to say that. Hi, my name is Peter Hanna. Welcome to the first political health report. And so to get into the whole COVID vaccine thing, a county in Florida, Brevard County, this is the 10th biggest county in Florida, they voted in favor of a resolution that would label the COVID vaccine as a biological weapon.
That's up. It's Florida, though, so I'm not surprised. It's not that. It's not that at all.
And weapon. And this
And I don't think they have the authority to do that, considering the FDA labels medicines. But whatever. Meek says, Peter has progressively gotten meaner and more dishonest as time goes on. I've noticed.
isn't a broader effort to get the COVID vaccine banned in the state of Florida. This is really exciting because
It's not exciting. It's horrifying continuing to see anti-intellectual, anti-science things to continue to seep their way into public discourse. It's bad.
I think there was one other Nordic country that banned COVID vaccines, but this is
He thinks that a Nordic country did it.
huge because here is the
Good source.
COVID vaccine, a horrible biological weapon
It isn't.
that I said was a biological weapon a long time ago, even
And you were wrong then and you're wrong now.
before it was
Sorry, I gotta cover this for YouTube. They are really harsh on making sure you're refuting all of the claims, which is good, because all of the things he is saying aren't true.
out. I was like, well, they're trying to populate people with this COVID vaccine, right? And now
Peter, that doesn't make sense. No one has been affected by this in a negative way in any statistically significant amount. Nothing you're saying is backed in evidence.
and that was like considered crazy, like the COVID vaccine, the thing that's saving humanity, you're saying is trying to destroy humanity? It was such an extreme belief
It still is.
that anyone who was saying it was
This is an interesting phenomena that I see with conspiracy theories, is at a certain point they'll just start saying that they've been proven right even when they haven't. It's very interesting. They'll be like making a bunch of nonsense predictions and then they don't happen. But then like a year or two later, and you've probably seen this, them be like, see, they all said we were crazy, but we were all proven right. What do you mean you were proven right? No, you weren't? Where are you living where you think that the things that you have said have been proven right by anyone? It's terrible. It's on Rumble. So no, I'm not going to send you a link to Rumble.
kind of like, oh my God, he's out there. But now even people within the government are not only admitting it, they're using that.
Peter, the government is not a monolith. You are talking about a local conspiratorial anti-vaxxer in a local Florida county. That is not the government. Are you delusional or are you lying? It's one of those two things. Langren says, I don't want to get too deep into Peter lore, but is he a Spanish speaker? He does this weird illusion thing at the end of syllables in his English, e.g. Co instead of COVID, which is common in South American Spanish. He grew up in Panama. He was raised in Panama. DM Trey says, it's like the Alex Jones is always right eventually meme. Yeah, it's nonsense.
Fact.
They come up with bullshit nonsense, stay in an echo chamber, and then within that echo chamber, some fake news source will come out with something that lies and tells them they're right, and then they go, see, we were right, even though the source that's telling them they're right is bullshit and feeding into their delusions for clicks, clout, money, or to manipulate them. It's just sad. I'm sorry. I'm frustrated seeing Peter continue to slide deeper and deeper into this. It seemed like for a while maybe he would get better, but that was just me deluding myself, I guess. Hydrate. Jen with a £5 super chat says, as someone who has a friend and a brother suffer the effects of long COVID, I have no time for Peter and his ignorance. Yeah, makes sense.
Because it's a fact that it's a biological weapon, to ban it. And I hope that this catches on. And
it's not going to, Peter. It's fine.
And it goes all the way. Their broader effort is very successful, and it bans not just in the COVID vaccine, not just in Florida, but the whole country. That would
It's a local Florida official, Peter.
Be absolutely amazing. So I'm excited for that.
I'm concerned at this point because, like, this is beyond, the more I'm listening to this, like, grifting. Like, I'm afraid he genuinely is just even less in touch with reality than he was before, because this is tenuous even by his standards.
I'm rooting for them, and I think that all these people who have been pushing the COVID vaccine, knowing how bad it is, should definitely...
It's not bad, Peter. Everyone's fine, myself included.
Go into some type of Nuremberg trials.
Comparing public health measures to the Holocaust on the bingo card.
You know, these are crimes against humanity. And so I'm very excited. I think the tides are turning. And when
Peter, if you see this, please, you have been wrong this entire time. I don't know why you continue to dig this hole and act as though you have been shown to be right at all. Since I first started covering you years ago, you have never been right, not even once, about your predictions about politics or health or the world. Please stop.
When it comes to getting a 5th or 6th booster, I think a lot of people are turning the eye being like, nah.
I'm gonna get boosted again soon.
I'm not gonna get the 5th and 6th booster. So people are waking up, and this is...
Peter, people being negligent and getting lazy doesn't mean they agree with your nonsense. People are just lazy about getting things like flu shots too, which they shouldn't be. I got a flu shot this year. I hope you did too. And you should get boosted if you can for vaccine or for COVID.
It's very exciting. And you know what? They do have this plan. And when I say they, I mean like the cabal, the elite, or you call it the
cabal on the bingo card.
Powerful thugs of the world. They have a plan to kill us, you know, depopulate us slowly. And
no, they don't.
And if it was through a nuclear weapon, it wouldn't be a very good depopulation plan. If it was through guns, it wouldn't be a very good depopulation plan. They get in trouble with shooting us all down with guns. They would destroy a lot of stuff if they use nuclear weapons. So their weapon of choice to depopulate the world is poisons.
Okay, he's definitely doing worse.
I'm talking about biological weapons. And I published a book about this about 15 years ago, how they were going to depopulate the world with biological weapons. I'm not a genius. Alex Jones and a lot of people were predicting this because they were admitting they were going to do this. They're going to populate the world.
Yeah, I'm pretty secure in saying I think Peter's drifting further from reality at this point, which is... like, you know what I mean? It's not even the things he's saying. He's said more out there things than this about aliens and stuff, but it feels like when he's talking about how things are going in these plans, his level of confidence, but also vagueness, has expanded to the point where it almost feels like he's very internal. Like he's barely even understanding what it means to communicate these ideas externally anymore because he's so caught up in his own, like, worldview of all of this. He forgets what other people don't know about what he's thinking. So he's not giving enough information but thinks it's coming across, and he's clearly very confident in it. It's concerning.
And they're going to use biological weapons to do this. The bad guys did. They admitted that. So I'm not a genius for predicting this 15 years ago. I was just telling people what they were saying, and it's failing.
And he also just seems like agitated, anxious.
Because people are waking up to the fact that organic food is actually the safest food you can buy other than like maybe homesteading food, which you can make, which is even better quality. And that GMO food very often, especially GMO wheat, potatoes, corn, and soy, is extremely harmful.
No, it's not. GMO stuff is fine.
Not only extremely harmful, but these GMO ingredients, GMO sugar, GMO soy, and corn, and wheat, and potatoes, I believe firmly that they were specifically designed for maximum damage to cause.
Okay, I don't care how firmly you believe this. They're not based on reality, evidence, science, or any indications of what actually happens when people eat these foods, which is nothing. They're fine. Peter, you cannot just make stuff up and say, well, I feel that way, so it's gotta be true. You should not believe things just because you feel them. You should investigate those feelings and determine if they're true or not. If you don't, you're walking around just based on vibes. And that's not healthy, and that's a terrible way to get accurate information about the world. You're going to be wrong all the time. Vibes-based conspiracy on the bingo card, yes.
A lot of health problems. And I see that because you look at all the industries and there seem to be poisons in every product, right?
No, there aren't, Peter. Just because they're words you don't understand doesn't mean it's poison.
Right? You have shampoos. Oh, look at the ingredients, all toxic.
They're not toxic.
I can't even find a natural
Literally, they
shampoo
test them, Peter. They test them.
brand, period. I have to make my own shampoo. Toothpaste.
Peter makes his own shampoo. Seems to be working for him. I can't even make a joke. No, his hair looks good. Apparently his shampoo works.
Well, 99.99% of all the toothpaste brands are toxic. Soap.
That's not true. I'm assuming he's dog whistling fluoride there. BM Trey says homesteading food is only advisable if you know what you're doing. A lot of people homesteading food is only advisable if you know what you are doing. A lot of people get sick because you don't diversify, or they don't diversify.
They're full of poisons as well. Oh, well, what about the air we breathe? That must be fine. Nope, but there's chemtrails.
Conspiracy theorists tells on themselves. Yeah.
And there's train derailments making clouds of toxic smoke go through the country and poison us. These train derailments and these toxic clouds of gas that was happening a few months ago. They were killing cows.
The train thing was like a year ago.
They were destroying all the animals that homesteaders had, all their chickens, all their bunnies. So they were poisoning us through gases, through these derailments, through the air, through the chemtrails. They're poisoning us through the water with fluoride and chlorine. That's why I
fluoride on the bingo card.
Recommend get any type of water filter possible. Ideally reverse osmosis that remineralizes the water.
We have not had Q referenced now.
Any type of water filter would be great. Get an air filter. We had an air filter once these toxic clouds came to our neighborhood. We had an air filter, closed the doors, we were fine. And trying to poison us with all these products. And not every product that's out there that has a toxic chemical in it is some evil company trying to poison us. It's not like that. And a lot of the time, the people putting in these chemicals, they don't know that they're harming people. But the majority of the time, most of the products that are being produced, the ones that are poisoning us, are from these big corporations that are being puppeteered by the cabal. And their goal is to sell us a product that's going to poison us. But poison us just enough that they're not really liable.
Peter, no one is intentionally poisoning you. What you're talking about with the train derailments was a result of rolling back regulations, was a result of negligence in pursuit of efficiency in order to make money. It's not people intentionally being like, haha, I must murder you. It's the mundanity, the banality of people trying to cut corners to make money. It sucks.
You get hurt because it was just a little poison and you can't really link that damage back.
Doesn't understand problem is capitalism on the bingo card.
Back to the company. But if they're poisoning us through soap and shampoo and food and water and air and vaccines and pharmaceuticals, eventually we get so poisoned that we get a bunch of health problems. And then we go to the hospital and then they profit.
Peters doesn't go to the hospital, so he doesn't know what hospitals are like.
From poisoning us further. So they have this great depopulation plan, but it's not.
No, they don't.
Working because people are waking up, and that's the most amazing aspect of it. Very excited about that. And going back to the whole food situation, I want to give you all the best diet tip ever, ever. And it's not an exaggeration. And I know it's the best tip because it's the premise of the healthiest diet in the world. The healthiest diet in the world is the medicine diet. I am the creator of the
Oh, look, it's the part where he shills his bullshit.
medicine diet. And the whole premise is this. You can tell if an ingredient or food is healthy or not by whether it's inflammatory. Why? Why does whether an ingredient or food is inflammatory or not, why does that determine if something is healthy or not? And I'll tell you why. Inflammatory foods are foods that our body has labeled as dangerous. Because
I don't understand how his brain functions. And I don't mean that in a I mean, I legitimately don't understand his train of thought. How he comes to the conclusions he comes to, and the way he organizes his thoughts is bewildering to me. It's confusing, and trying to understand what he's thinking and what he means by what he says is difficult. And belies some really faulty framework he's working in. Overthought says, the whole idea of capitalism is to exploit labor. You can't exploit labor if they are sick and dead. It's completely antithetical to poison billionaires' source of money.
what is an inflammatory food? It's a food that we eat that our body ends up having to trigger an inflammatory reaction. Inflammatory reaction is our body saying, there is an emergency.
No, Peter. No.
Going to nature for solutions, and also believe in trusting your body's innate ability to figure out whether something's healthy or not.
No.
And that's okay. So it's not like all the food that is inflammatory, it doesn't have nutrition. Of course it does. But if you're constantly eating inflammatory foods, and 95% of the food in the grocery store is inflammatory. So chances are you're constantly eating inflammatory foods. That inflammation adds up over time.
If Peter started saying capital holders instead of the cabal and believed the problems he's talking about stem from the search for profits instead of eldritch beings, he would make some sense. No, it's much more nuanced than even that, though. Like, the problem is not necessarily just the incorrect direction of his ire, but I think he is, on some level, and I'm not calling him stupid, I am saying I think there is a malfunction in the way that he understands the world that I think is making him incapable of even understanding real nuanced blame or have an accurate map of reality in his head. So, like, even if you inserted all of those things, it would still be based on a bullshit framework that doesn't make sense. Like, his very reasoning ability seems like and I'm not trying to say that in a derogatory way. I'm just trying to say, like, it feels like he does not process the narrative of the real world the same way we do. So even if you changed out the specifics, the grammar, the structure of the way he thinks would still screw it up in some way. Because he can't work through it. He can't process it the same way for some reason. Let's see. Peeplord says, what if Peter is right, but only for him? Like some kind of Truman Show, except they didn't set up a wild, crazy world with actors. Like maybe 3 people paid minimum wage to keep the show going by sneaking him dumbass juice and he's only vaguely aware, and this is how it bubbles up. No, he was raised in a cult. Like a literal cult, so I just don't think he's very good at... I don't think he was ever taught how to figure out truth. I don't think he was ever taught how to think critically, because that's antithetical to the goals of a cult.
Time ends up creating chronic inflammation, and the vaccines create chronic inflammation, and the poisons here and the poisons there are all creating chronic inflammation. They're all adding inflammation. They're all emergencies your body has to deal with, and your body does become well overwhelmed with these emergencies and all this inflammation, and then you end up with chronic diseases like Parkinson's, diabetes, cancer. So I believe these are all solvable problems. You can solve in preventative health. So the best diet advice in the world is, if you want to know if an ingredient or a food product is healthy or not, find out if that ingredient is inflammatory. And it's not always as simple as it sounds like. You buy blueberries and you're like, oh, I Googled it. Blueberries are not inflammatory. Well, are they organic blueberries? Because if they're not organic, That means that they are sprayed with a ton of harmful chemicals, and those chemicals, those pesticides, are inflammatory.
No, Peter. God.
So here's your great tip.
Last I checked, he was selling his, like, quote unquote diet program for like hundreds of dollars, too.
Inflammatory foods are not healthy, generally speaking. Foods that are not inflammatory are definitely healthy, especially if they.
He's basically substituted good and bad for inflammatory and non-inflammatory. He has defined good food by whether or not it is inflammatory, so if he eats a food and feels bad, he assumes this is inflammatory, therefore it's bad. Not good.
They have, like, vitamins and minerals and nutrients and stuff like that. Obviously, a rock is not going to be healthy, despite the fact that it's not inflammatory because it's not food. But if it's.
He is right. Rocks aren't food, unless it's salt. You can eat salt.
A food and it's not inflammatory, it's a healthy food. That's how you tell. That's how you tell. And I based the whole diet off that. In my opinion, created the best diet in the world based off that, breaking down the different elements of what makes something inflammatory. So I hope that helps you guys. Be aware, research the ingredients, research all the products you buy because they are trying to poison us. Get a water filter, get an air filter, start buying more USDA organic food. This will help you heal. And
wait, he trusts the USDA? Does he know that that's a federal agency? He trusts the USDA. Interesting. Weird line to draw.
The whole COVID vaccine depopulation event thing, it's backfiring because obviously people are waking up, and when people see how badly they were pushing these vaccines, which are obviously biological weapons.
They're not, Peter. Stop.
Weapons, and people realize that because they're getting sloppy with this whole poison humanity to death.
Sorry, KR Goss. KR Goss says, Peter reminds me so much of my dad. He has always been an anti-vax, non-GMO person. I was raised with no vaccines or healthcare. He still buys into the insanity, and even though he is in end-stage COPD, caused by needing a new heart valve and not seeing doctors, he believes that taking desiccated cow lung will rebuild his lungs. Oh no. Peter seems to be heading down the same path. Yeah, it's incredibly unfortunate, and I'm sorry to hear that.
Project. And so it's very exciting. I think the food industry, at least the GMO side, is going to continue to crumble because the organic industry is skyrocketing. People love organic food because
people only ever make purchasing decisions based on scientific data and evidence, right?
They are noticing that it's the safe food. And the pharmaceutical industry, that's crumbling too.
It really, really, really isn't.
And the vaccine industry, that's crumbling too. People are getting less childhood vaccines. They're getting less COVID vaccines.
He has no idea what the USDA is. He just sees it on steaks and he thinks it's like a seal of approval. You're probably right.
Less vaccines in general because we're waking up. Sometimes people have to get burnt really bad as a wake-up call. Me personally, I didn't take care of my health very well until I basically had a horrible diet, did some serious damage. That was a wake-up call, and then I became majorly obsessed with health. So hope you guys enjoyed this first political health report. I'm here providing the best health information on the internet. That's for sure.
He's not qualified to say that.
Consider myself one of the top experts in the world.
He considers himself one of the top experts in the world at food science.
So thank you for joining me. I hope that you can use this information to heal yourself and hopefully others as well. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Let me know if you agree with what I'm saying in the comments.
No.